What is going on, YouTube? Welcome to yet another episode of the Fight Maniac Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. I really appreciate all of you that are out there watching. As always, don't forget, if you want to support your boy, all I ask is go ahead and leave a like and hit the subscribe button and leave me a comment if you want. But yeah, we just had UFC 307 over there in Salt Lake City, Utah. Obviously being headlined by our boy Poatan, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. Your boy watched pretty much the whole card. I tuned in. When did I tune in? Oh yeah, I tuned in at the mid. Well, I missed the first two early prelims. I tuned in during the OSP versus Ryan Spann fight. I watched the whole fight, so yeah, it was a good card overall. A lot of decisions, not a lot of finishes. That's one. I think that's one knock. If I'm gonna have one knock on the UFC on this past couple of cards, like the Sphere, and now this one, it's a lot of decisions, not a lot of finishes, and I know they're trying out new gloves. I don't know if that has anything to do with that, but I know they may be expecting more finishes and also less eye pokes, and we'll talk about that because there was a lot of eye pokes, especially just that one fight. It was crazy. It was fucking insane. But yeah, obviously the main card was okay. My favorite fight for sure of the night was the main fight, obviously. Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree. I mean, what a fucking fight, dude. Khalil, and I think we all knew, coming into this, and I said it this last week, we are expecting, right? Every time we see Alex step in the octagon, we are expecting to see him kind of just go in there and having a quick little knockout in the first round. And that was not the case. I think he had to go through some adversity, and he did say some things in the post-fight press conference that he was sick, not making excuses, obviously, because he won, and he won in a very impressive way, but that he was in Brazil stuck because of some visa issues, and then that he got to the U.S. 4 weeks before the fight, and he was very sick. He had to take antibiotics and stuff like that. And then essentially 3 weeks out, he went to Salt Lake City. So I don't know if he had a full camp. I'm assuming he did kind of in Brazil, but he just said that, hey, I was in Brazil stuck. I was having visa issues, and then I got sick when I got to the U.S. So, that does a lot to you when you're a couple of weeks out of a fight. So, especially taking medicine, taking antibiotics, that will fuck you up for real. I don't want to take anything away from Khalil. I'm not going to say that, if Alex had if he was healthy, would he knock out Khalil in the first round? We're not even going to go into that scenario because that's not even worth discussing, right? I think right now the main takeaway that I have for this fight, for the fighters, is that Khalil is a motherfucking dog with huge heart, and you can't measure shit like that. You can measure all the stats you want, all the strikes you want, but the heart that somebody has to stay in the fight and keep going is insane. And ultimately, that's what we saw from Khalil. He, obviously ended up losing in the fourth round. Alex just starting teeing off on him. And Khalil still looking dangerous, by the way, even though he was wobbled, even though he was stumbling a little bit, and we knew it was the beginning of the end. He was still fighting back. I think he landed a few, nothing too crazy, but he landed a few on Alex. And, but at the end of the day, Alex, being the pro that he is, he ended up getting the win, obviously. And yeah, nothing really surprised me from the fight. I guess the only thing that surprised me is that we didn't see a faster finish. I was expecting a second round finish. I think that was my official prediction. By the way, I'll talk about predictions because I think my predictions were pretty spot on. The only one I didn't get was Pennington, I want to say. I'm going to go back and watch my video because I don't know exactly what my predictions were. I already forgot. But I for sure, I had my predictions, but then I also had my parlays going, which are separate because I bet more on the underdogs. So my parlays were Alex Pereira I had a few parlays going. But I had one that was the one that was closest to hit was Alex Pereira. I had Mario Bautista. I had Roman Dolidze, and then I had Raquel Pennington. So those all hit, except the fucking women's fight. Which, by the way, I thought it was robbed. I thought Raquel got it up. Maybe I'm being a little biased, but it was a split decision, very, very close, very tight. And I don't know. I thought Raquel did enough. I thought that she had the biggest moments of the fights. She definitely rocked and wobbled Juliana Pena more than 2-3 times throughout the fight. So I'm surprised they gave her the win. It is what it is. Your boy would have been fucking rolling in dough right now if it weren't for that shitty ass decision. But yeah, my predictions were kind of spot on, and then my parlay it kind of fell off a little bit. I had a few parlays going. I also had another parlay for significant strikes. I had Alex Pereira more than 50 significant strikes, and he got that. I had Kevin Holland. It was so easy. I think it was more than like 20 or something significant strikes, and motherfucker goes out there and just fucking injures himself. Well, no, not himself, but because of a position that Roman had him on, he like twisted like a weird way, and I guess his rib popped out or broke or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, I was really looking forward for that fight, and I was looking forward for more action from those two guys. So it's a little unfortunate that fight didn't really go the way we wanted to, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess I can kind of go fight by fight and kind of talk about what happened. So starting with I'm not going to talk too much about the prelims, but I do want to talk about Cesar Almeida versus Ihor Potieria. That was a crazy fucking fight because Cesar Almeida fucking poked Ihor like 4 times and kicked him in the nuts and got 0 points taken away from him. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not too familiar with those two gentlemen. Shout out to both of them, and shout out to Cesar for getting the dub. But man, that was kind of bullshit. Not kind of. It was so much bullshit. 3 eye pokes and 1 nut shot and no points taken out. That's fucking insane. And then a fight that I was really looking forward to was Wonderboy versus Joaquin Buckley. I was so worried because I was going to get dinner. I was going to go get takeout, Hawaiian Bros, shout out, to watch the fights. But then I realized what time it was and it was too late. And I was like, oh, fuck, I have to go now. And so I couldn't watch the whole of that fight. I watched some of it on my phone. I watched it in bits and pieces. But for what I could tell, it was a good fight overall. It went all 3 rounds. And then obviously at the last round, Joaquin Buckley ended up getting the dub. I will say, was Wonderboy winning that fight? I want to say that he was winning. He definitely had more strikes, more significant strikes and more total strikes. So I'm assuming he was. There was 0 wrestling. I mean, 0 wrestling. Oh, wait, actually, never mind. Joaquin did have 4 takedowns. But Wonderboy looked very good. That's one thing I want to say. At his age, to win some rounds against a young guy like Joaquin, he looked very, very impressive. Unfortunately that he didn't get the dub. It would have been crazy if we all of a sudden see Wonderboy in like another title run or something. That would have been fucking insane. So overall, though, I thought he did fantastic until he didn't. Until he got caught. And I don't know really what it was. Maybe he just, didn't give Joaquin the respect that he was kind of needing to give him, and then ultimately he got caught. And it was so unfortunate because it was the last round on a fight that I think he was winning. I definitely think he was winning the fight. I mean, round 1, he had more strikes for sure, more significant strikes. Joaquin had 2 takedowns though. But overall, through all the rounds, he outstroked him. Joaquin also had 2 takedowns in the second round. But again, Wonderboy had the more strikes. And then round 3 is obviously when Joaquin took the judges out of the equation. So, I guess it kind of depends on how much balance you give to wrestling and versus striking, right? I mean, I kind of count the striking a little bit higher, and I think that's the way it is. I think if you look at how the judges judge a fight and score a fight, striking is number 1. right? And then if they're still striking, then they look at things like wrestling, right? So in my opinion, Wonderboy was definitely winning the fight. If he would have coasted for that round and not get knocked out, unfortunately, I think he does get the win. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But hey, it should be good, spirit, for him that say, okay, I was actually winning the fight. I just got caught. So, because there's always a question of like, oh, can he hang still with some of those younger guys? All right. Well, now we can see that he can. At least with somebody like Joaquin Buckley, we see that he for sure can. However, that's Joaquin Buckley right now, man. And that's guy he was number 11, and Wonderboy was number 9. However, when you look at some of that division higher and higher, it gets tougher and tougher. And we've already seen Wonderboy with some of these top guys. So unfortunately, that's why he's in the position that he is, because he's lost to some of these top guys, right? So at the same time, it's kind of good that Joaquin is now the fresh meat, the new blood in the division, and he's going to break into the top 10 and then potentially now fight somebody that's bigger name, bigger payday, bigger stage, and obviously for bigger opportunity, for a higher spot in the rankings. And hey, if you're now going to be number 9 or 10, well, now you have maybe 2 or 3 fights for a title fight. So if he keeps winning, I think that's a good opportunity. Now, I want to talk about his call out, because everybody, including myself, talked a lot of smack and a lot of shit on his previous call out, which is obviously, if you don't know, it was Conor McGregor. And everybody clowned him like, oh, that's so silly. Obviously, he's not going to fight you. So whatever, right? It got him eyeballs. So at the end of the day, it kind of served its purpose. But then he gets in the mic this time and actually calls out someone that's kind of a good fight. I don't think it's going to happen, but he called out the Nigerian nightmare, Kamaru Usman. It's a good call out. It's a good call out because it's a former champ. He has 2 losses in a row. He's still at the top, though. He's still at the top. So if you get past someone like Usman, you're right there, brother. You're right there. I don't think that's going to happen, though, because if you look at the title picture, there's only 2 names that matter right now. It's Shavkat Rakhmonov and Kamaru Usman. So I don't think they would take Kamaru from that and say, oh, fight this guy that's ranked number 10. So I think Joaquin has to first get past somebody else a little bit lower. Kamaru is ranked number, 2, and Shavkat is ranked number 3. And obviously the champion is Bilal. So, I think a more realistic call-out would be someone like a Gilbert Burns, or like a Sean Brady, or even like a Colby Covington, someone that's in the top 7, top 6, in that category right there. Because I think Kamaru right now, it's being a little bit reserved for the title. Because like I said, for Bilal right now, for the champ, there's only 2 names that matter. Only 2 names. Shavkat and Kamaru. That's it. There's nobody else. So if for whatever reason Shavkat cannot fight, or he's injured or something, or he's already booked for somebody else, Kamaru is your guy. So like I said, they're not going to take Kamaru out of that equation and say, oh, here, fight this number 10 guy. I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, good call out. Way better call out than before. But I think you could have been a little bit more assertive and say, oh, I want a number 7 guy, a number 8 guy. And that's when you call out the Gilbert Burns, the Sean Brady, or the Colby Covington of the division. So overall, it was good. Moving on, we had the Roman Dolidze fight. Oh, sorry, we had the Caitlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison fight. I thought it was a good fight as well. It went all the way to decision also. Harrison couldn't unfortunately get the finish, but she just looked dominant. It wasn't as easy as a lot of people thought it was going to be. But hey, it was pretty dominant. She took her down a few times, not too many. Caitlin did a better job than I think most people expected. But I think Kayla now, with this dub, she for sure fights for the title, right? And I'm going to talk about that here in a second, because obviously the person that's obviously would be Juliana Pena, who obviously just won. And then Juliana Pena gets in the mic and she says, no, I'm not going to fight. Well, she didn't say no, but she didn't call out Kayla Harrison, which was insane because it was a perfect opportunity. The UFC they never do this, by the way, but they put on a split screen Harrison in the other screen and then Pena, in the octagon. So it was a perfect opportunity for a call out, build the rivalry. And what does this dumb bitch do? I'm kidding. It's just not a dumb bitch. I'm kidding. But what does Juliana Pena do? She calls out Amanda Nunes. Like, bro, nobody wants to see that fight. You got dominated. You got ragdolled in the last fight against Amanda Nunes. So, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you did enough for Amanda to be like, oh, I want to come back. If Juliana goes out there and knocks the fuck out of Raquel first round, then, okay, maybe you give Amanda something interesting to kind of think about and say, oh, all right, let me consider this. But that was not the case. It was a snooze fest. You got rocked. You almost got finished. So, it was a split decision. It was not an impressive win at all. So I think it's a more realistic fight to don't look towards Amanda. She's retired and she's the GOAT of women's MMA. She ragdolled you, so that opportunity is gone. I think you look at who's in front of you right now realistically, and that would be Kayla Harrison. So that's the fight I want to see. That's the fight I would expect to see. And I think this is the only fight to make. And if you make any other fight, makes no sense. But I guarantee you we'll see this fight either by the end of the year or early 2025 for sure. And then we had Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland, an unfortunate outcome. I was really looking forward for this fight and seeing these two gentlemen go at it a little bit more. So yeah, if you didn't know, they get into a scuffle, they go to the ground, the wrestling. Roman tries to pass guard or something, and Kevin Holland did a weird thing where he got stretched and got to his side, and you immediately saw that he was in pain and something happened. So yeah, it was one of his ribs that kind of popped out of place or broke or something. I don't know exactly what it was. It wasn't like a knee or anything like that. It was just movement that broke him. Immediately, it was at the end of the round, which is kind of lucky for him. Otherwise, he probably would have gotten finished. Well, it wasn't at the end of the round. It was probably 30 seconds left because Roman started to tee off on him and landing some ground and pound. So, if that happens earlier in the round, maybe he gets finished for sure. But yeah, so he's safe by the bell. He goes on his stool. You can tell he's just in pain. And then his coach is asking him, hey, do you want to continue, right? And yeah, Joe Rogan in the commentary booth had a little bit of opinion about this because I guess what they said is that you're not supposed to ask the fighter this because the fighter is always gonna lie to you. Basically, the fighter's gonna say, "Yeah, I want to continue," and the fighter is not gonna look out for their best well-being. They want to fight. Their adrenaline is high. They might not feel it, but at the end of the day, something internal like that, it's hard to see. Obviously, if it's a nasty cut, if it's a broken elbow, dislocated shoulder, that's different. You can see that clearly, but it wasn't too visible. Some people said that he did have something protruding out. I didn't see it. I have to go back and check. But when it's something internal like that, I guess it's kind of hard to see and hard to judge, right? So, I thought it was smart that they asked him, hey, do you want to continue, right? And he said no. So definitely super anticlimactic. We've seen examples in the past where a fighter gets something broken at the beginning of the round, at the beginning of the fight, and then they go on and potentially win the fight, right? For example, Dan Hooker versus Jalen Turner. He broke his arm in the very first round of the fight, but then went on, just I guess, I don't know how, but just said, fuck it, I don't care. And just went on and won the fight, right? All 3 rounds and won the fight. I'm not saying that Dan Hooker is more of a man than Kevin Holland, or I'm not saying that Kevin Holland is a pussy or anything like that. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that there's levels of pain, obviously, and there's levels of adrenaline. Maybe his adrenaline wasn't high enough for him to not feel it, because they do say that once you're in there and you get popped or something happens, your adrenaline is so high that you don't even feel it. So, at the end of the day, it was unfortunate, but I'm glad. It was a smart decision. Even though it was super anticlimactic and not the outcome I wanted to see. I did have Roman in my parlay, so that was kind of good for me. But I also had in another parlay Kevin Holland over, I forget, I think it was like 20 or 24 significant strikes. So that one didn't hit, obviously. So yeah, for Dolidze, he gets past a guy like Kevin Holland. That's great for him. Let me look at the. This is also a little weird because this fight was at middleweight. Roman is ranked 10 at middleweight, but Kevin is not ranked at middleweight, but he is ranked at welterweight at 15. So it's a little weird, but I don't know what, and I talked about this last time too, I don't know what this does for Roman. I don't think it does a whole lot for him in this division because you didn't even beat a guy. The guy got injured, and then he's not even in the division, right? So he's probably going to stay in the same spot, maybe go up one spot, but now you're looking at some other guys. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Roman versus a top 5 guy. And one name that I'm looking at right now that is kind of interesting. Let's see here, but I gotta make sure they don't have a fight. So let me check. I gotta make sure they don't have a fight booked. Not top 5, by the way. He is ranked number 7, which would be Marvin Vettori. No, sorry, number 6, Marvin Vettori. I think that's a fantastic fight, and I think it helps him to, again, former champion contender and Vettori, multiple-time champion contender, went to distance with Adesanya, impressive wins against top contenders. So I think a win versus him would skyrocket Roman into possibly a title eliminator fight, right? In the division right now, again, the belt's been rotating a few times, so if he gets a couple more impressive wins, then he just inserts himself in that championship situation. So I hope Roman is able to get something done there. And I don't know if he called out anybody specifically, but I would have called out either Marvin Vettori or Cannonier. But I don't think Cannonier, does he have a fight booked right now? I don't think he does have a fight booked. So I would have called out any of those two guys, and I think it would have made sense. So shout out to Roman. Unfortunately, the way he won, but hey, a win is a win. A win is a win. Then we have Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Very high-paced competitive fight. It's probably what you expect out of the lower weight classes, right? Very high output and very high pressure cardio. I gotta say, Jose Aldo also looked fantastic. For another older dude that's been competing for a long-ass time, he looked insane, okay? He looked amazing. And his boxing was good. It was a little sloppy. He was swinging kind of wild a little bit, but he was connecting with some of them. He did have 51 significant strikes. He had more significant strikes than Mario Bautista, so shout out for him. But hey, I came in here last week and I said, Mario Bautista is a dude that he has a pretty impressive record. He just hasn't really beat anybody with a big name, right? Now he did. Now you beat Jose Aldo, fucking GOAT of the UFC. And now you're pretty much already over there, bro. So, another interesting fact that I probably didn't talk about last week is that obviously for the entirety of his career, Jose Aldo was pretty much at featherweight, and that's where he was always been. But this fight was a bantamweight, so Jose Aldo obviously coming off a loss against Merab as well a few months ago or earlier this year, I want to say. He got a win after that, but then before that, he lost to Merab. So here he lost to the champ, and now Mario Bautista was 11, Jose Aldo was number 10. So you don't go up a whole lot, but you definitely break into the top 10, which is great for him. And, there's a few interesting fights for him there. And I'm seeing someone right now here that doesn't currently have a fight book that will be probably super interesting for someone like Mario Bautista. It would be none other than one of my favorite fighters, Mr. Marlon Chito Vera. Makes sense. Chito coming off a couple of losses, former champion contender. I think this is a smart move for Mario Bautista. And again, similar situation to what did we talk about earlier? We talked about Joaquin Buckley, right? You're breaking into that top 10, top 7 situation. You got to start calling some of these guys that have bigger followings, that have fought for the title before. Some of them former champs. You got to call out some of these guys. You have to do it. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people don't really utilize their mic time like to the max, right? I don't think Mario called anybody out in particular. I have to go back. I don't remember, and if he did, I'm sorry, but I would have gotten on the mic and I would have called out Chito, and that would have been perfect because, again, super famous guy, former champion contender, and now if you get 2 wins back-to-back versus first one versus Jose Aldo and then next one versus Chito Vera, now you're fucking there, bro. You're cooking, and you will be fully cooked soon. That sounds fucking weird. I'm sorry. That sounds so weird. Anyways, I think either way, though, it was a very, very good fight. I definitely had Mario Bautista winning this one, even though my the inner me didn't want to bet against Jose Aldo for sure. I think he was definitely the underdog. But I just didn't want to, bro. But I just knew Mario had, I just knew the younger guy. It's similar to the Wonder Boy situation, right? You don't wanna make, especially if you're betting money, you don't want to bet like a fan. You want to bet like a hardcore stats individual, right? You go only by stats, and that's what this was. Bautista was a younger guy, faster guy, fresher guy. But damn, Jose Aldo looked good. And he looks in fantastic shape, by the way. Jose Aldo looked in fantastic shape. So shout out to both those guys. And I hope that Mario is able to get another big name opponent pretty soon. So shout out. Then, obviously, we had Raquel Pennington versus Juliana. Versus Juliana Pena. It was overall an okay fight. There was a lot of output from them, but there was over 100 significant strikes for both. Sorry, over 100 total strikes for both of them, and then 92 evenly on significant strikes. So that right there tells you that it was pretty close. So a split decision is actually, I think, the right way. But at the end of the day, bro, I think that Raquel Pennington took the dub. And again, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Do you put more weight on striking or do you put more weight on wrestling? Because there was a clear advantage here of Raquel Pennington had the advantage in striking, and she was doing a really good job at she wobbled her a couple times. I don't know if she dropped her. Let me see. So she had one official knockdown for Raquel Pennington, even though that was one knockdown, but I know for a fact that she wobbled her at least 3 times, and Juliana was hurt and she was in trouble. But then this is where, what do you put more weight on, the striking or the wrestling? Because Juliana did have one submission attempt, and if I'm not mistaken, she also had a couple of takedowns, but not many, like 1 or 2. She had 2 takedowns out of 3 attempted. So, bro, I mean, these judges are kind of bullshitting, bro. Like, again, wobbling someone 3 times versus taking someone down twice, it's, in my opinion, the person with the striking advantage and that hurt him and had the biggest pop, and the crowd goes, oh, that's what you want in a fight. So, it is what it is. It's whatever that Juliana got the dub. It's fine. I mean, I don't care. I'm not a huge fan of any of this 2 ladies, but again, for my parlay, I really wanted Raquel Pennington to win. However, Juliana has to cut the bullshit. She has to go on and fight Kayla Harrison. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. She's just corny, bro. She's not a good champion at all. And she was talking all this shit before the fight about how, she did a good job at representing women's MMA because she was on Ellen and she did interviews and she was in Joe Rogan. Like, bro, who gives a fuck? You got ragdolled. First of all, you won versus Amanda, which is super respectable, but I think we all agree it was pretty much a fluke, especially after watching the second fight. It was pretty much a fluke. Amanda pretty much just didn't take her seriously, and it was kind of a fluke. It was an impressive win, and it was a huge upset, probably the biggest upset, but upsets happen, and they happen not necessarily because you're the better fighter, but because the better fighter just didn't prepare enough, or they thought they could just run through you, and they didn't prepare enough. And you can tell, Amanda was already kind of looking at retirement, and she's been in there with some of the best. So the first win, I don't want to call it a fluke, but it was kind of a fluke, right? And then she milks the shit out of it. She milks the shit out of it for almost a whole year. Like she said, she goes on Ellen, she does all this shit, right, that nobody cares about. Like, nobody watching the UFC, nobody. Let me stress this enough. I cannot stress this enough. Nobody watching the UFC is going to watch Ellen, okay? And vice versa. Nobody watching Ellen is going to go on and tune in to UFC 307 in Salt Lake City, Utah. Nobody, okay? So, who cares? Yeah, you want to Joe Rogan, and that's cool. And, a champ is a champ, so shout out to her, right? Get her money, whatever. But I just feel like she's corny, and she milks the shit out of that. Too much for me, too much. So, yeah, I just don't personally like her too much. She's a great fighter, obviously, and a great woman, but shout out for the win, I guess. But she has to fight Kayla. I mean, that's the only fight to make. And if she dodges Kayla, if she doesn't fight Kayla for whatever reason, I'm not even gonna support, honestly, because that's the only fight to make. And I do believe that Kayla ragdolls her. Although, her jiu-jitsu is pretty good. So I guess we'll see. It's gonna be an interesting fight. So hopefully we see that later this year, if not early 2025. I think that's what happens. Early 2025 for sure. And then we move on to finally the main event of the evening. Obviously, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree Jr. Alex had way more total strikes, 129 versus 62. Way more significant strikes, 127 versus 61. Absolutely zero wrestling in this fight, zero takedowns, zero submission attempts. One thing that was interesting was that the commentators were saying that because Rountree is a southpaw, it was kind of not letting Alex do his usual attacking the legs strategy where he did with Izzy and all those guys, where he goes for the leg and he hits so hard with that leg that by the time he's hitting you on top, your leg is gone, bro. Your leg is gone. So ultimately, he didn't do it a whole lot, but he did eventually start doing it and found his groove. He did get 18 leg kicks, so that's great. And one thing that he did beautiful, one thing that he did absolutely beautiful was when he smelled blood and he got the finish, he didn't just headhunt, okay? Because that's when I think that was he learned from that mistake versus Izzy. That's what happened. He thought he had Izzy injured and he headhunted, and Izzy came back and wham and fucking dropped him, right? So he learned from that. He had Khalil injured, and what does he do? He lands a beautiful hook to the body, clean, bro, just bam. You can tell Khalil just fucking went, you can tell Khalil just fucking felt that shit. Followed by a nasty uppercut. Bam, right there, dude. It was fucking nasty. It was vicious. Khalil, though, shout out because he held on definitely for longer than most people thought he would, including myself. I mean, on my parlay, I had, on one of my parlays, I had Alex Pereira by round 2 for sure. I think that was expected by a lot of people. So yeah, again, I don't want to take anything away from Khalil, but Alex did say he was sick and he was taking medicine and he was going through some shit before the fight. So I'm not saying that's why this fight was more competitive. I think Alex, that's at a 100%. probably gets the dub in the second or third round for sure. But hey, man, Khalil, shout out to him because the whole fight he was still dangerous, and he landed shit. I mean, he landed a lot of stuff, nothing huge to kind of, there was one instance in the fight which I have to go back and watch, but I'm not sure, which he kind of dropped Alex. I'm not sure. Let me see. Let me double check if they counted it as a knockdown. I doubt it, but Alex at the post-fight press conference, he did say that so they didn't count it as an official knockdown. It was more of a trip. It was more of like he hit him and Alex was just off balance, so he kind of rolled or something. So yeah, it wasn't a takedown, nothing crazy. So even though Khalil landed some clean hits, it was nothing crazy to kind of wobble. And it's easy for us to sit in a position like this and say, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that. But, bro, against a guy like Alex, I don't think there's a whole lot you can do in that scenario. I mean, in any scenario. I sat here last week and I told you how I would have liked for him to shoot a takedown. But then he goes on in the press conference before and he says, I've never shot a takedown before. Why would I do it now, right? Okay, I mean, I guess you don't want to be champ, right? And again, that mentality is good and it's good to have, but also you're in the UFC. This is MMA. If you're not shooting takedowns, what are you doing? This is going to happen eventually. Don't get me wrong, his stock definitely went up, and I think now Khalil is a guy that if he fights somebody next, like a bigger name dude, like a Jiri Prohaska or like a Jamal Hill, I think we're going to tune in because it's going to be a banger. And imagine Khalil versus Jiri Prohaska. That's a fantastic next fight. Or, I think, Jamal Hill. I don't like Jamal Hill, bro. I don't like Jamal Hill. He's a sore loser. He was also, at the end of the fight, saying how he wasn't impressed. Homie, you got fucking rocked, bro. You got rocked. And you know what? I don't know how the internet didn't make him a meme, because the expression that he made when he got knocked down by Alex, cut to that because it's hilarious. It's like bro, how are you gonna do that when you're getting knocked down and expect for us to take it seriously? It's just funny in my opinion. But he's a sore loser. He's still hanging on to, he took one step when the ref stopped the fight. I don't think that argument works anymore, because the ref stopped the fight. The ref looked at Alex. Alex said, and then the ref looked at Jamal, and Jamal said, you gave the thumbs up, homie. You gave the thumbs up. The ref said fight. And it wasn't even instant. Like a few seconds went by, and then you got rocked. So if you didn't get out of the way, if you didn't maintain your distance, that's on you. So it wasn't like he hit you like right when the ref said fight, boom. No, it wasn't like that. No. Like I said, both fighters get the thumbs up. The fight was on, boom. So Jamal, in my opinion, has no argument whatsoever for the belt right now. So that leaves the question of okay, who's next for Alex Pereira? And obviously, a lot of fans, a lot of people are saying, move up to heavyweight, right? I'm saying right now that's not probably a smart idea. That's not a bright idea from Alex Pereira. Sure, he can do it. But it's also easier said than done. A lot of people don't realize that he probably has to put on 20 to 30 pounds for heavyweight, because he probably walks around at 230. I don't know. He could do it, right? But he's going to have a significant weight disadvantage versus who? John Jones? All right. 260 probably. Tom Aspinall? Okay. 260, 270 probably, right? Significant weight disadvantage against any of those guys. So I don't think it's smart right now. I think right now he should defend the belt against Magomed Ankalaev, right? And let me tell you why this is smart. Because if he goes out there and defends the weight versus Magomed, now there's going to be no doubt, no confusion that, he just needs to fight a wrestler and, they're going to take him down and submit him real quick. Okay, all right, fight at Magomed, find out what happens, and then we'll see what happens at heavyweight. But I want to see that fight against Magomed, especially because Magomed kind of deserves it, right? Before this fight versus Jamal, everybody was kind of shocked why Magomed didn't get this fight. Mind you, he was already booked. It's kind of funny that Magomed had his fight booked before these two guys, and he still hasn't fought. He's going to fight at the end of this month, so a little fucked. But I think Alex goes out there and fights Magomed, and then he moves up to heavyweight, right? That's what I want to see. But then also, he said it himself, like, hey, I kind of need a break. Like he was sick, he went through some shit. So obviously he doesn't want to just get back in there again, even though it's worked out for him until now. Every time he jumps in there, he's good and he wins and it's impressive. And God, and supposedly he's been injured for a lot of these fights that he's had for 300. I don't know for 303, but he's definitely been injured for a lot of them. So it makes you wonder if he does take, let's say, 6 months off. Let's say he comes back early 2025. And if he's at 100%, my God, how scary is that going to be? How scary is Alex Pereira at 100%, right? That's insane. In my opinion, that's what he should do. He should fight Magomed and Ankalaev, or obviously that's if he wins, right? Which I'm assuming he will. He's a very, very dominant wrestler, obviously Russian or Dagestani from that part of the world. So I'm counting on him to win. And then we see Alex Pereira versus Magomed early 2025. And then, and only then, he moves up and fights Tom Aspinall. Because by that point, John Jones will be retired. Stipe will be retired. I am not going to talk about this whole heavyweight thing right now because I've already broke it down. I'm going to break it down closer to the John Jones fight, which is in about a month or so, right? I think, yeah. I'm going to break it down more there, but I already talked about it plenty. So if you want to go back a few episodes and I'll talk about it. But to summarize it, I'm just going to say that I think John Jones and Stipe both retire. I think John Jones fights Stipe and retires. And then Tom Aspinall basically just doesn't fight anybody. He just automatically becomes the undisputed champ. He can defend the title against somebody who, I don't know, maybe someone like a Cyril Gane or something like that. I know heavyweight has a few fights booked right now. And then Alex can insert himself in that situation, right? But only after John Jones. Realistically speaking, he is not going to fight John Jones. Dude, John Jones, no knock on John Jones, but he is dodging Tom Aspinall. Do you seriously believe he's not also going to dodge Alex Pereira, the scariest dude in the UFC right now? Right now, he's for sure. He's saying, "Oh, dude, I'm not going to fight Tom Aspinall, a scary dude for sure." But you're also asking me to fight this other dude that's hella scary. I think what's happening is people are asking way too much of John Jones. People are asking way too much. He already had his career. He already proved he's the GOAT. He has one more. He said it multiple times. And he's kind of like, guys, fucking pick a line. Do you want me to fight fucking Stipe, Tom Aspinall, or Alex? Like, I can't only fight one guy, right? So, in my opinion, to summarize this up, again, I promise to summarize it, the Stipe fight is definitely a mistake. He should fight Tom Aspinall or Alex Pereira. But again, that's not going to happen because it's just the timing didn't work. If this is 6 months from now, I say, yeah, fight Alex Pereira. But unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. I think John Jones fights Stipe, beats him, retires. Stipe also retires. Aspinall becomes champ. He fights somebody like Cyril Gane. And then only then, maybe, Alex can go up. He wants to, though. He wants to. So that's at least one good thing, one good sign. And listen, I'm not saying I don't want to see that fight. I would be the first one screaming, holy shit, if they announce John Jones versus Alex Pereira. That would be insane. And that would be amazing. And that's for the fans. That's one for the fans, right? But it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So And again, it's not easy as it seems. People think, oh yeah, just eat a few burgers and you'll be at heavyweight. Nah, bro, you got to put in weight the right way, right? Like John Jones did. He took time off. He lifted weights. He got heavier on purpose. He's a little on the chubby side, don't get me wrong, but he's just thicker in general too. John Jones is always a super skinny guy. So yeah. Anyways, that is going to be all for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me while I yap a little bit. But hope you guys like the predictions. Let me know if any of your parlays hit in the comments. And hope you guys like the breakdowns and the suggestions for the next fight. So thank you guys. Don't forget, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and leave me a comment. And peace. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.